when you're young, when you're talented, when you have the ability to do something that you won't be able to do later in life, it makes a lot of sense to seize that opportunity and take that chance. Almost 8 months ago, I said I'd be taking a break from posting to play professional basketball in Germany. Now that I've done that, I feel like my break is over. In today's video, we're covering how professional basketball has been, how you can play pro if you'd like to, and what Turkey is like, because I can bet a lot of you have no idea. Crazy thing is, I'd already filmed these talking points before leaving Germany, and in between taking pictures while I've been here in Turkey, I accidentally deleted them. But everything happens for a reason, and this opportunity to film again means I can do better. Now, for a bit of context, I just wanted my visa extended. Sent a few emails back and forth, got the paperwork they requested, just to be told my source of employment is unacceptable since it doesn't require a degree. And that since I can't get married or find an immediate job, I'll have to leave the country. Honestly, I could have prepared better to secure a visa, but I came here to play basketball. And I didn't expect to fall in love or get a dog or get an apartment. But when you're living, life happens. Now, for a minute, we did think it was all over. The reality check from the conversation at the migration office really hit hard. And for a few days, we couldn't think, we couldn't eat, like it felt like the end of the world. But thankfully, after a few phone calls, it turns out I just have to leave Europe and not necessarily go back to America. So we came to Turkey. So what was it like playing professional basketball? The first thing that came to mind for me was how far away I was from home. When it really sinks in that you're thousands of miles from where you just came from, you feel so lonely. But depending on the team, the group of guys you have around you, the mindset you have when you get there, can be a blessing or a curse. And for me, it was more of a blessing. I'm always someone who prefers to be in a more isolated position. I feel like I thrive in adversity and adverse places like Stade, Germany was. It's not the hub of Germany. It's about an hour away from Hamburg, which is a pretty important city in Germany. But Stade itself was more of like a village town. It definitely made me think of how far I was from Atlanta, Georgia. I lived in Atlantic Station. A lot of sirens, a lot of noises, hard to get to sleep at night. And then I come to the peaceful village town of Stade, and it was a blessing. The second thing that comes to mind is the lack of facilities. I was playing in the 4th division, which is the lowest paid division for professional basketball here in Germany, the Regionalliga 1. And with that came the lack of practice facilities, the lack of the ability to shoot in the gym anytime I wanted, the lack of the ability to work out. I'm gonna be real with you guys, I hadn't worked out for the entirety of the time I was playing there. There was no way for me to get sufficient transportation to the closest gym. Inevitably, I had to move in with my girlfriend in Germany, and that's in Hamburg, which is an hour away from practice, where I could finally get about 10 minutes down the road to the closest gym. So a lot of sacrifices you have to make to be able to play for a team that has a lack of facilities. Other thing that came into play is the fact that you are a stranger daily. Just facing the fact that when you look at people, when they look at you, first of all, what are you doing there? You look a lot different, and then you don't even speak the language. So aside from feeling insecure about looking different than them, you have no idea what they're saying at any point in time. And it can get stressful, definitely, and it can be even more lonely at times because there's no one who can relate to you if you're the only person from your ethnic background on that team. And that does lead to another point, which is that you can get easily bored. Most lower division teams are gonna be in more of a village town near the major city. So it's a lot easier to get bored unless you like fishing or kayaking or standing by lakes and going on nature walks, then not gonna have much to do. In a place like Europe, football is the major sport. A lot of football fields, well, soccer for the American, but a lot of fields all around, and handball as well. So you're coming to play basketball, but basketball is also your hobby, and there are not very many courts for you to choose from. A positive note is that you do get to experience culture outside of America. And why that's important, I feel, for the average American is because when you're in America, you're wrapped in this bubble. You think that life is about getting fame and money and becoming a celebrity or some way, or there are people that you will always look up to who have reached some type of status. But from what I've noticed in Europe, it's more so about quality of life. It's about people being more inclusive and allowing people to find a way that is meant for them. It's not necessarily about likes and followers and who's dressing the best. While that's great and it makes you feel better about your self-esteem, I've noticed that not too many people care about that here. Social causes, social interaction, and then how the government is treating us. People are a lot more involved in what is going on around them and how policies can affect them, at least from what I've noticed here in Germany. Another positive note is that you can actually make genuine connections with people. You know, in America, there's this argument that the East Coast is like this, the Midwest is like this, and the West Coast is like this. And what I've noticed here in Germany is that people will tell you exactly what is on their mind. They don't sugarcoat anything. Just looking at my girlfriend, for example, and her family, her dad doesn't even speak very good English, but every time I tell a story or give any information in English, he's so willing and eager to hear what I just said from Sonia or her mom. There's so much inclusion and so much involvement that they want more immigrants to actually come to the country and keep them there. But the best thing that I have come to find from playing professional basketball is the possibilities. Looking at where my life was before I had the opportunity to make this decision, I was an influencer, which is, it was great, but at the same time, I had barely any life experiences. I was in college, I was playing basketball, I dropped out, I was homeless, and I just got to doing calisthenics and then making videos, but I hadn't had any life experience. And then I had the jump to be able to just come over to Germany, just literally leave the country and come to Europe. That in itself, how many people will never have the chance to leave the country unless it's paid for? And when you're young, when you're talented, when you have the ability to do something that you won't be able to do later in life, it makes a lot of sense to seize that opportunity and take that chance. So many others are blessed to do it, but they don't really know the way. So you want to play pro, here's how to do it in 4 simple steps. Step 1, get in shape. Endurance training with mile runs, speed training with suicides, build strength by improving your stability and joint health. Step 2, get your highlights together. If you don't have any, you have 3 options. Option 1 is to ask a coach for the credentials to their Synergy login so that you can get access to any highlights you have from anywhere you've played in college. Option 2 is to check YouTube with team names and game dates so you can see when you've played another team in the past. And option 3 is to find a pro camp. Now the one that I've been to and the one that I recommend is the Eurobasket Summer League. They've got locations in Vegas, Atlanta, and the camp dates are usually from July or August. But check this website and you'll find out all the information you need to know. Step 3 is to find an agent. You can actually check that same website for agents from every player available. Click on more, then available players, click your position, see every player in your position and their agent, and contact the agent. It's something like this. Okay, basketball aside, let me tell you guys what it's actually been like being in Turkey. When it comes to eating in Turkey, kebab meat is gonna be the most popular thing you find on the menu. Similar to the rotisserie chicken we Americans love so much, kebab actually has a metal bar going through it and it's cooked vertically instead of horizontally. Now the 2 directions I've seen this kebab meat go is either in a doona, which is like this hollow filled piece of bread that gets stuffed with just an entire dish, really, meat, lettuce, onions, all that. It's just all stuffed in like a bag of bread. Now the second option is pretty similar to the Mediterranean food I usually see in America. Usually thinly sliced pieces of Euro meat or chicken or just the kebab. So I've actually seen it come in like thin pieces, thin strips, and also in chunky pieces, like thick pieces of meat. Then rice or fries on the side, and almost always coming with tomatoes or peppers or onions. Coolest thing I've actually got to do out here is take a 4-wheeler out onto the open road. If you haven't done this, I don't recommend it because in America that can be dangerous, but out here where traffic is calm, that was amazing. And when I say traffic is calm, I really just mean in terms of stopping and going. Driving out here is literally Russian roulette. At times, it can seem like total chaos, but you rarely hear any honking. It's like people understand that it takes common sense to do what seems like the right thing to do, even if it doesn't seem like the right thing to do. But in spite of all that, in the week I've been out here, I have not seen one accident. There are beaches in Turkey. A lot of people don't know because it's not bordering an ocean, but it does have seas. Mediterranean Sea, I think I saw the Aegean Sea and the Baltic Sea were in certain areas, but I'm near Antalya, and right underneath that is the Mediterranean Sea. So the water's pretty cold. The sand is really dark, not like California or like Florida where you have the lighter, closer to white sand. This is like very, very dark sand, like wet dirt, but it feels good when it's hot and it still looks amazing. It's still so peaceful. The sunset hits it the same way it would on any beach. It's just cold. So if you're more familiar with the Pacific Ocean and how that feels, you definitely fit right into the Mediterranean Sea. From what I could tell, any given day, it looks like you've got plenty of day trips to choose from. I stuck with a short visit to the ruins and a quad tour, which allowed me to actually get the quad when we were finished. But aside from that, you've got Jeep safaris and then pretty much vibe with nature and the various cities surrounding your resort or hotel. You're probably wondering what's next for me, so let me explain. Since I entered Europe on a work visa for basketball, I had to leave the country entirely before my residence permit expired. At that point, I could come back to the country under a Schengen visa or a vacation visa, which will allow me to stay here for about 90 days. Now, the plan is, after that 90 days, I will be staying in Spain. But to be there legally, at this point, I plan on applying for a non-lucrative visa, which will basically allow me to stay in the country as long as I have a sufficient source of funds. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Please wish me luck. And as always, keep working smarter. Since I entered Europe on a work visa, I have to leave the country entirely before returning. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there and then come back.
I just tell you the text because they can hear me, right?
Yes, they can hear you. Since I entered Europe on a work visa for basketball, I had to leave the country entirely before I could return. All right, serious. Since I entered Europe on a work visa, I had to leave the country entirely before I could. Since I entered Europe, okay. All right, you ready? All right. Since I entered Europe